Elijah's eyes squinted against the glare as the transport approached a vast structure that stood isolated on a sprawling estate. The sanatorium, an architectural marvel of dark brick and Gothic spires, loomed against the overcast sky. Its massive windows, like countless unblinking eyes, stared out, reflecting the gloom of the world outside. A doctor approached as the transport halted, his crisp white coat standing out in sharp contrast to the dreary surroundings. "Welcome to St. Augustine Sanatorium," he announced, extending a hand. "I'm Dr. Matthews." Elijah nodded, still taking in the surroundings. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic, but beneath it lingered a more sinister aroma, the faint odor of decay and despair. Inside, the polished wooden floors echoed with every step. Hushed whispers echoed through the corridors as they walked, with occasional sobs or manic laughter interrupting the silence. Elijah saw soldiers in various states. Some stared blankly into space. Others rocked back and forth in corners, while a few talked animatedly to themselves or unseen companions. In one room, a man with a bandaged head repeatedly screamed, "Get them off me! Get them off!" Another soldier with an empty sleeve sat eerily still, humming a childhood lullaby. Dr. Matthews gestured to an observation room where doctors clutching clipboards observed a soldier. "Shell shock," Matthews whispered, the term hanging in the air. "It's a reaction to the prolonged stress and horrors of the front. We're still learning, trying to understand it." "But it's more than just the battles, Doctor," Elijah interjected, his voice low and tense. "There's something else. Something unnatural." Dr. Matthews eyed him, considering. Elijah wanted to scream that it wasn't a mere trick of the mind, but he held back, already feeling the weight of skepticism. Later, in the dining hall, Elijah sat across from a man whose face was a map of scars. One eye stared unseeing, a milky white. "You're new," the man rasped, introducing himself as Corporal Sawyer. Elijah nodded, his appetite lost amidst the sounds of moans and the clattering of cutlery. Sawyer leaned in, voice low. "You've seen it too, haven't you? Not just the blood and mud, but the shadows, the whispers." Elijah met Sawyer's gaze, realizing he wasn't alone in his experiences. But just as he was about to respond, an anguished scream echoed through the hall. A soldier, face contorted in terror, shrieked, "He's here." The room went silent. Elijah's heart raced, every fiber of his being alert. He knew, deep down, that the battle was far from over. The war outside might have ceased, but the one inside was just beginning. Elijah's nights were restless, plagued by nightmares and the muffled cries of fellow soldiers reliving their own traumas. He often found solace wandering the cold, echoing hallways of the sanatorium, hoping the physical exertion might exhaust his tormented mind into sleep. One evening, while meandering near the sanatorium's west wing, a hushed conversation snaked its way into his ears. He paused, leaning against the cool stone to listen. "They say he was back on his feet in a week," whispered a raspy voice, unmistakably that of Corporal Sawyer. A younger voice, quivering with a mix of fear and hope, responded, "But Thompson, after he went in for that treatment, he disappeared. No one's seen him since." Sawyer's voice held a hint of defiance. "But Daniels, he came out better. Said they got rid of the nightmares, the tremors, all of it." The younger soldier, Daniels, sighed heavily. "Is it worth the risk? What if they're doing something to our minds, taking away more than just the memories?" Elijah's heart raced. He had heard whispers about experimental treatments, electroshocks, surgeries, even drugs imported from overseas. The desperation in the eyes of the haunted men around him made it believable that some might gamble on such uncertain odds. As he mulled over the conversation, he was suddenly seized from behind. A cloth, drenched in some chemical pressed over his face. His world went dark. Awakening in a dimly lit room, strapped to a metallic table, Elijah's eyes darted in panic. The smell of iron and antiseptic was overpowering. Streaks of dried blood painted the floor, some leading to ominous-looking drains. The room echoed past horrors. Dr. Matthews, unrecognizable in surgical garb, loomed over him. His eyes cold, calculating. Beside him stood a machine, its purpose unclear but intimidating in design, with wires and sharp instruments protruding. "Ah, Elijah, you've awakened." "Good." Dr. Matthews's voice dripped with an unsettling calm. "You've been selected for a special treatment, a solution to end all your troubles." Elijah's voice trembled. "What are you doing to me?" "We're helping you," the doctor responded, adjusting dials on the machine, which hummed to life, emitting an eerie glow. "This will make you forget, make you whole again." The whir of a bone saw echoed, mingling with Elijah's screams. But as the room descended into violent chaos, somewhere deep in his psyche, the voice of Legion whispered, savoring the moment. Ah, the sweet symphony of despair. Hours, or perhaps days later, Elijah was found wandering the sanatorium's corridors, his gaze vacant, his mind a fortress of repressed memories. The experimental procedure had left its mark, but whether it was salvation or damnation remained to be seen.